I'm Peyton Vince.
And welcome, guys, to the We Like Sportz Podcast. I'm Peyton Vince alongside
I'm
Casey
I'm
and Peyton.
Peyton Vince.
Every single time. It's a running joke that your hairline's the same as mine, I guess. And we also have a new guest joining us today, too. We have KJ joining us.
What's going on?
And we still have Riggs on the way as well. It's going to be a really jam-packed show today. We end up talking about, on the docket for today, we have NBA talk, somewhat, I guess, and on the scoring and the new overtime rule possibly proposed. The NFL and the XFL maybe trying a new rule change, as well as the Guardians possibly, and Jake Paul has to be talked about, and the fact that he ended up losing in boxing. Well, on that note, guys, let's get things started. Basketball-wise, what's going on with basketball? Casey, you could start us off, but with Damian Lillard dropping 71 points, and then you had the Clippers and Kings game having a 176 to 175 score. Is basketball entertaining, or is it just all too much scoring now at this point? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Casey, if you start us off.
I'm going to put my clothes away while we do this.
I mean, do you think it's boring? Like, it's like baseball. Do you prefer to watch a 2-1 game or a 7-8 game? You know, like what's the preference for the viewer? Because for me, I mean, I prefer to see the one that's 8-7, or I mean, I didn't watch the 100 and whatever the hell the score was, 75 game. I watched like 2 minutes of it and that was it. But I mean, I think I'd prefer to watch the high paced games like that compared to the slower paced.
Yeah, I guess that's true. KJ, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm same with Casey. I mean, the more action, the better. I think there was a game, I want to say like 2 or 3 nights ago that I can't remember. Was it the Kings and the Clippers? It was like 164 to 170 or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The 176 to 175 game in double overtime.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to see that? I mean, especially for people that, you know, bet on sports and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people cashed out on that game in particular.
Yeah, that is true, or at least you hope so. And while the other Peyton Vince is folding laundry, I'll end up adding Drew into the stream now. Drew,
good. I got my headphones in.
What's up? What's going on, Drew? We'll let the other Peyton Vince answer because he has his headphones in apparently from afar, even though he's folding laundry. But right now we're talking about I guess basketball as a whole, and specifically Damian Lillard scoring 71 points and the Kings and Clippers scoring combined 350-plus points. But Peyton Vince Jr., CJ, go ahead.
I don't know, man. To each its own. Yeah, I like buckets. I like watching points. It gives me something to root for, especially like when I don't have a team. But even like when it's your team, I'm sure like Clippers Kings, right? Clippers and Kings fans, like they were fucking stoked and fired up watching the game. You know, that's what no one wants to watch, a bunch of dudes miss shots. You know, but like it's cool. It's one of those like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because like, you know, they're trying, but like, you know, they're getting baskets. It's not like remember we talked the All-Star game and everyone's like, oh, there's no defense in it. But like, we just watched the team put up All-Star game like numbers.
Yeah. Drew, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm a defense guy in like every sport I watch. So, I mean, there's a healthy amount of buckets. You know, I don't mind the 120s, 110 games, 350 points ish. I mean, at that point, I don't think that's good basketball. At that point, like it's just a scoring run. I get that it's more fun, and I tend to smash overs in basketball, so it's a good way to make some money. But I don't know. To me, scoring at will with very little defense is not as fun. I mean, I like fight games with high scores.
Like the flip side, obviously, I didn't watch that game. I'm not watching, you know, Kings and Clippers and random February games. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, like it is one of those things. Like, I didn't watch the games. So it's, you know, I can't vouch for like, was this sweet to watch? I don't know. Could be, but yeah, you know, you see that box score, you're like, oh shit! Like I gotta see what's going on with that thing.
And to take it even a step further, too, it's something that even came out today or that was mentioned today is the fact that they're considering after that game and Kawhi Leonard playing 48-plus points that they're kind of do the same thing that they do at the All-Star game. And that being said, you'll end up having a target score for overtime. So that way your commentators, your players, not everybody's being burnt out, and they're kind of toying with that as a possibility. So what are your thoughts on that one then? I guess if it's going to be an overtime game, would it still be fun to watch, kind of like that All-Star game when you end up playing to 24 points like they did? Because you've seen some like incredible action in the past so far. But in a regular season game, would it still have the same amount of meaning and interest to you? And whoever wants to start off, Casey, if you want to start off and could just go in the order.
You went first last time.
I think it'd be corny. I mean, truthfully, I did go first last time, but I do think it's corny.
So they've tried it in the basketball tournament. I don't know if you guys have watched that.
Oh,
It's, it's the $1 million prize pool basketball tournament they do. It's a lot of like ex-college players, overseas players. I watch it because there's a Syracuse alumni team in it, but they do that like I think like the Elam ending or whatever it is they call it. I think it's made those games fun. Like at least it makes them competitive. But I get it in that format. Like
it's like an XFL thing.
It's $1 million tournament. So they want to make it so there's no team that's like completely out and make the endings exciting. I think that's shitty in the NBA. Like if you're blowing a team out, you're blowing a team out. Like I don't like the idea of we have to give a team a chance to win. Like you're playing to this number. Look, if a team wins 170 to 98, I don't care. That team that's down doesn't deserve a chance to outscore by 80 points at the end of the game. They just don't. Like, you lost.
Peyton Vince Jr.
Did you say it's like an overtime rule? I didn't read this anywhere, so I have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, it came out today. I forgot who ended up posting
I think it could be like a cool overtime thing, but I don't know. I think it's super gimmicky. I like overtime. I like double overtime. I like triple overtime. I like all the overtime.
And how often does it happen that it's an burn a player out?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's cool. It's like a long, like for me, like I love a long extra inning game. It's like when the Guardians won, or like when they had the one where they went to Toronto. I like that shit, man. You know,
it's always like tense and like you're interested.
You got a decision to make. You know, do we play for this one today, or do we, try to punt on it, go for another day? So to me, I think I don't need, targets. I mean, it depends on if the target score is like 10 points. I think that's even stupider. So for me,
I watched the game last night between the Nuggets. They were went overtime. They were up by 9 within the first minute of overtime.
Yeah, like
so in that scenario, it would be done.
Yeah, let it be a full quarter, man. I don't need a target score.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there shouldn't be a target number that you should score. I mean, like my guy Peyton Vince Jr. said. I mean,
it's just
the more buckets, the better. It should be more points win the game. It shouldn't be like a target point system or anything like that. I mean, if when the buzzer rings, I mean, who's got the most points? That should be the winner. I mean, point blank.
Yeah. You play for 4 quarters. Why are we shutting it down and changing the rules? It's like the Ghost Runner thing. I hate it.
Well, it just seems that they keep on trying to adjust with the times, though, with the rules. And Riggs, we're talking about the idea that they're playing within the NBA, that there's a target score kind of like they do in the All-Star game, that they're playing up to
like the
24.
Dumbest thing in the world. Like, if I'm sitting watching a game for 3 hours and it goes into overtime, I'm like, overtime, free basketball, free football, and now the idea of like, let's try to get this done as quick as possible. Like, nah, man, I already invested 3 hours in it. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
But Riggs, what are your thoughts though on the possibility of a target score going on, that it's going to be kind of similar to like the NBA All-Star game?
Oh, since it's similar to the NBA All-Star game, since I'm late on the conversation, and thanks for having me on the show, I was wondering, would that make the scores go higher in regular season basketball like they do in the All-Star games, where it's like 140 plus over 139 plus? Is that good for regular prime time and full-time games? I think some fans might be ready for that, but at the same time, I think some guys and some fans are truly not ready for that. So I don't know. It's definitely a game changer, to be truly honest. So,
and is it kind of similar effect with like hockey, for example. Like Drew's a hockey fan. He knows exactly kind of where I'm going with this. If it's a shootout, you end up just getting like a 5-4 win and you win that period overall. It's not like it counts for your statistics, I believe, right?
Right. Yeah. It doesn't. It's not like every goal scored in overtime or in the shootout counts towards like the game total. So if the score's 4-4 through overtime and your team hits 3 goals, it doesn't become 7-4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Count.
It would be interesting, and especially to add a little bit extra flavor to the fact that with you end up having Damian Lillard, you have Giannis, you have Luka, you've had Donovan Mitchell. They have so many games that have scored 60-plus points so far. It's kind of just been the change of the NBA, and that's not even including overtime rules, too. So imagine more extended overtimes on the flip side, though, and not so much that restricted rule. Imagine if there's more.
That feels like a way that leagues change, not like the league's more just, all right, give it to the guy, clear out of his way, space the floor, shoot more threes, all that, with like the guys getting more points. You see a lot of ISO ball.
And I mean,
it just leads to big numbers.
And with that being said, with I guess more of the All-Star game too, just because it's and the NBA has just become all for show pretty much. And I don't have a problem with it. Like Casey said, I like seeing competitive games that are a high scoring just because the more action there is. Same thing with baseball. I love a good pitcher's duel, but at the same time, though, if they're hitting 5-6 home runs in the game and the other team's hanging with them. For example, look at the Guardians game in the playoffs when it was, or not even the playoffs, in the regular season against, I think, the Twins in September. It's just a back and forth game that went 15 innings, and it wasn't just a long wild card game like it was in the past. So it's kind of giving the fan your value for your money, but at the same time, though, what's it doing to the players, the commentary, the officials? Like, is that more in favor of those people more so than the actual players?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say it benefits. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm tired of all these leagues thinking they need to change rules and change aspects for like modern viewers. The idea that like modern viewers don't like the game to be the game, like the NBA. Oh well, we'll add this ending because there will be more baskets scored. That more baskets doesn't necessarily mean the game's more exciting.
Well, MLB just did the same thing with stolen bases.
Right, the stolen bases for the sake. And I got in this huge argument with this guy commenting on my article. And, my whole point was, okay, the pitcher makes 2 pickoff moves. Now the runner gets to take 2 extra steps because the risk reward is just not there.
Right. You're not going to worry
really a stolen base, or is it an uncontested, I can walk to second base? I mean, you're not generating excitement that actually makes it more exciting. It's the perception that it's more exciting. Like a 170-point game in the NBA, like if it's 170 to 169, I don't know that is more exciting than 130 to 129. Like, did you see more baskets? Yes. Okay. Did you see better defense? Probably not. So there's fans that like different aspects of these games, and the idea that offense is everything all the time, I don't know that that's it. And, they're trying to speed up games. Like, that's the whole point of what they want to do in these overtimes. They won't have 3 overtimes if you play to a certain point total. Like, the game has to end at a certain point, and they know how long, on average, it'll take. The idea that modern sports fans can't keep their attention on an exciting game is asinine. All they're doing is alienating people. Baseball's been alienating people. Basketball doesn't realize that there's a whole crew of fans that like close games. And at the end of the game, I want to see somebody playing defense.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what I don't like about like these high scoring basketball games. Like, for instance, like the All-Star game. Yeah, they're fun, they're entertaining, but I mean, I think by heart I'm a defensive person. I don't want you scoring or embarrassing on me, not in one single bit. Yeah, the fans get a show, that's awesome, but I'm not going to sacrifice my skills and my craft just so this person can get more oohs and ahs and be on Nickelodeon Slime the next week, and I'm getting embarrassed over that. I seriously think that they're trying to put the attention span on the younger viewer and the younger audience, because I don't want to sound like the old man in the room or the old man yelling at the cloud. I think some kids nowadays, they don't have that attention span like we do watching some of these games. Like I remember going to baseball games with my grandmother, and she would actually, take score down with the pen and, the actual sheet, the sheet of everything. Exactly. And I don't see many people doing that nowadays. And one, I think it forces people to, use a little bit of their brain that they don't want to use or they never unlocked and used. And I don't want the players to play so high of a scoring game where that can cause them to get fatigued or that causes injury later on for the next game or that season to that player or athlete. So, it's a double-edged sword, I believe, maybe on that. So it's entertaining, yes, but if I was a professional athlete, I would just want to embarrass and destroy my opponent and go the hell home.
Casey, Peyton Vincent Jr., or KJ, do you have anything else to add before I add something else that kind of twists it a completely different way?
Yeah, I do. Along with the high scoring, me personally, I like to see it, but I agree with Drew and Riggs too. I mean, I want to see a little bit of defense. And I mean, with the All-Star game that just went past, I mean, that was the most pitiful basketball game I've ever seen in my life. I did like in the past couple years, once they announced the rule change with the target score, I did in the beginning, it's like you get the alley oops, you get the half court 3-pointers, you get the excitement with the younger crowd. But when it really came time to it with that target score, it's like they competed. It was like a playoff atmosphere. So I did like that. But I mean, hopefully the NBA and Adam Silver, figures out a way to kind of just make it where it's not like what it was last weekend. I certainly hope not.
Right, because they're playing defense too in that final minutes of – that's the first year they tried it. Everybody started playing defense in an all-star game, and it was a shock because they're trying to prevent the other team from getting to the target score, which I love that aspect, but then you have something like the past weekend, and it's unwatchable. But
yeah, I mean, and also I don't want to see Tatum and Jaylen Brown go at it for 5 straight possessions either. It's like if I want to see that, I'll just fly to Boston and watch a practice.
Right, exactly. Casey, CJ, you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think it's letting me watch a little more college basketball. I don't know, kind of like becoming like a grumpy old man with the way the NBA is going. I watch my Cavs, but when I want to watch like a random game, I'm more likely to turn into like a random college game than a random NBA.
And I feel like it's more fun to bet on college basketball games because it's a game of momentum. Like Drew and I were talking about this, I think, earlier last week. It was whatever game. It was like Florida against Kansas or something. And Florida had the lead at half because they just drilled the 3-pointer. Momentum was on their side. And if they would have came out with the win, you're winning XYZ amount of money because they have like 400 plus odds because it's an in-game bet and it's unexpected and they're a top team.
Yeah, it's a different style of game too, it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to even go another step further, as we're talking about scoring and like selfishness in NBA basketball, what if they did it the opposite way? What if they did it like high school basketball when you end up having no shot clock and instead you're just wasting the time of possession then? And it's not even wasting, it's really strategic because this is how you win ball games. You just get up 39-25, 39-37. And it's just small scoring, but you're still making all your baskets that count. It's not just so much, hey, I end up having 2 minutes left on the clock and we have a 10-point lead, but I have to eat this shot because even though I'm wide open, I should probably hold on to this and dribble it out a little bit more instead of just worrying about my selfish stats.
That sounds awful.
No, yeah, that sounds awful.
Like the worst idea you've ever had.
Yeah,
I really hope that you read that somewhere and didn't come up with it.
Now, look at the Grizzlies though. They've used the shot clock to their advantage.
Yep.
Like Ja Morant is a walking the dog expert. So with the shot clock, you can manipulate the clock. If teams don't want to press defense, run the clock. Slow the game down, less possessions. I mean, every sport is going to analytics except basketball. that it shouldn't be a shock that John Morant's doing this over and over and over again, and no team wants to step up and play it. Like, let him do it. That's fine. But no shot clock in the NBA would be terrible. That's just a horrible idea, Peyton. No.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
College should actually be shorter. College should be 30 instead of 35.
But like, could you imagine though that perspective of basketball?
No,
though, just because
I don't want to imagine it. I don't want to imagine it.
No, I've watched it when I coached 4th, 5th, and 6th grade basketball. Yeah, I know what it looks like.
I referee basketball. I see it all the time.
Imagine actually completing the passes though instead of throwing it to the other team because you were coaching them after all.
No.
Yeah, huh? Got me.
But changing gears though and going back to the All-Star weekend as a whole, it's something we were going to hit on last week, but instead XFL and MLB rules ended up taking over most of the show. Stephen A. Smith, Stephen R.'s brother, ended up saying that LeBron ruined the slam dunk contest because he hasn't participated in it. And I wanted your guys' thoughts on that, just because it's a really interesting take there, because LeBron's never competed in it. He's always said every once in a while that he would. But you ended up having somebody like Matt McClung that ended up winning the slam dunk contest this year.
I saw on Twitter they're calling it Mac History Month.
Yeah, that.
That's so disrespectful. In February. Oh my goodness, I hadn't seen that. Sorry.
Well, basically, like, I think the reason why Stephen A. Smith say that, and I think a lot of fans kind of feel the same way, is because, you know, it's LeBron James. You know, he's big, he's strong, and everyone's been wanting to see him in a dunk contest for a very long time, possibly even his rookie year. And some people probably think, well, LeBron probably has an ego and he doesn't want to go out there and do it, and he'd rather sit out in the audience with his colleagues and friends, coworkers, whatever you want to call them, in his latest fashion and give spotlight to the younger people, which is fine. And then I hear people also say, well, LeBron's really not a great dunker. He's just a in-game dunker, like, you know, in the breakaways, whatever you want to call it. So, you know, it's some people, they want to see it. And then I talked to some people about it, and they were just basically like, no, he really shouldn't do it. He's not that good at it. Like, what can LeBron do in a dunk contest that hasn't been seen, hasn't been done, you know, like.
No, I agree. I might have a hot take here, but like I don't think I want these like stars to be in the dunk contest. Like, it's who says that they're going to be any better than a guy in the G League, you know, or a guy that isn't like the 15th guy on the roster. Who says that that's a bad thing? Like, I don't know if I want to see, like you said, LeBron. He's a good in-game dunker, but what else? You know, can he do these crazy things like McClung? I don't know. I don't think so.
The conversation I was having with somebody about this too, they were saying, well, if some of these guys don't even want to, these big name players, if they don't want to participate in the dunk contest, why don't the NBA just reach out to the and one basketball community? You know, like, they love to put on a show. And if you guys have ever seen some of those highlights, which I'm pretty sure you are, like, you know, give those guys a shot, give those guys a nice payoff and a good payday, and have them mix it up with some of the NBA's best.
But at that point, it's not the NBA All-Star game. Like, the point is, it's the best stars in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I don't love the dunk contest anyways. I think they reward gimmicks more than they reward good dunks now. I mean, like, Dwight Howard wasn't that great. He put on a Superman cape and smacked the backboard. Dude's 7 foot tall. They gave him 10s. I mean, I was like, he does better in the game. Like,
right.
I don't care
Dominic Wilkins should know better on the judging.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the dunk contest is like the worst part of NBA All-Star Weekend.
The skills challenge.
I like.
Now it is.
Now it is.
Used to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I used to
the
like
3-point contest used to be awesome, and I like that they upped the winnings. Like, 3-point contest is fun because you're watching the best 3-point shooters do it, and that's it. How do you decide who the best dunkers are in the game? Other than just throwing in the most popular names, like Vince Carter was the best dunker.
Yep.
Like,
I was going to say that was a good. He put on a show.
But who's the best high flying dunker now, right? Like, who's going to give you a dunk contest?
it's impossible to predict. Like Casey said,
John
it could be
Morant,
somebody
I
in the
mean,
G
but
League could be the
still,
best.
like McClung. I think McClung was. I think he was pretty
awesome.
good. Yeah,
But
like that's what I'm saying.
that's what separates like MLB All-Star Weekend from the NBA All-Star Weekend. Like MLB, the home run derby is the best home run hitters.
Yep.
Like that's it. That's the event. There is no other like tchotchke skills event for the players. It's the home run derby, the prospects game, and the big game, and that's it. Like stop adding shit. Stop doing these wonky competitions. Like the dunk contest used to be fun. I think most people are like, if you don't want to watch the big stars, okay, they're not going to be in it. But until they stop rewarding gimmicks, I don't even watch it. Like honestly, I don't.
I
watch
think
it
they
at all.
add that corny stuff because of the hometown. The people that are there, like they have the Bucks team, like if they're in Milwaukee, and then Cleveland, they have the Cavs, like like little stuff, like little games like that. I think they do it for the home crowd.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you an idea to buy a ticket then if you're from that area. You're not going otherwise if they don't have anybody in your team. Like if nobody from Cleveland would be a part of it when they hosted the All-Star game, why would you even have any intrigue to go? And like
some people will, but
yeah, but that's just your traditional basketball fan. Like any MLB fan, though, will go to a home run derby even if it's their hosted city is the one doing it. Because you don't care. You're getting home run balls, and at this point, they've ended up having them signed autographs if you end up getting them. Like, they made it intriguing, baseball did. But before CJ and KJ add anything they want to, I want you guys to think about this next question, though, for NBA All-Star Weekend. If you don't like the slam dunk contest, do you replace it with something else? And what would it be if you do? Because we're saying that it doesn't make sense. So sit on that one with CJ and KJ, both the J's in their last name or their last part of their name.
And you're BJ, so...
Oh, goddamn.
I'll let CJ go first.
I like the dunk contest. I didn't watch it. I watched wrestling. Chamber was on. But, I feel like, our bad dunk contest bad. I didn't think I was watching it on my phone. I didn't think it was bad. I think, the shot at LeBron is LeBron didn't do it, so then everybody else – kind of like a rite of passage. You saw all these, guys in their first, couple years in the league, they would do it that are big names. But then LeBron skipped it. Then, no Durant, no Ja, no Zion, nobody else after. Who's been the last big name?
Who's the last biggest name?
Yeah, probably Dwight. But I feel like people shit on dunk contest because it's this old. I just think hating on the dunk contest is so easy. But those guys go out there, they do sweet dunks. When it's bad, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. Again, when it's bad, it's bad. It's been bad. I thought this past year was cool. Watched on my phone a little bit. I focused more on watching wrestling than watching the skills and the 3-point contest. I don't know. Not much you can do. I don't know what you replace it with. It's fine. Maybe give people more money if you want to attract bigger names for it. But those guys make so much money that it don't matter anyways.
KJ?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your new question, I just don't think that there is something that you can incorporate basketball-wise to replace the dunk contest. I mean, they already got the skills. They got, that 3-on-3, teams challenge or whatever.
Competition or whatever.
Yeah. And then,
celebrity game.
Yeah,
I like
you got
the
the celebrity game. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, growing up, it was the All-Star Weekend for NBA. That was my favorite weekend because you got the celebrity game Friday. You got, all the, the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and then the All-Star game on Sunday. But to go back on what you said about Stephen A., I think he's mad because he's just an old head. And I mean, growing up, it's you had Dr. J. Dr. J passed the torch to, MJ and Dominique Wilkins, and they passed it to Kobe, and then, Kobe passed it to Vince Carter, and now it's just we get stuck with Derek Mason and Jason Richardson and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, you want to see stars, but I mean, LeBron in a dunk contest, it's just what is he going to do? 4 tomahawk dunks? I mean, I just don't know. I just
so many
know.
dunks too. I feel like I've seen every dunk. I'm numb to dunks.
Yeah,
the McClung dunk. I mean, I don't recommend seeing that one. So the guys that aren't stars, I think have more time to think of that shit to put into it.
I agree.
I think the only thing people always lean to a one-on-one tournament, but no big name guy. If you're LeBron, why would you be in a one-on-one tournament? You lose. People are just gonna shit on you.
Yeah, that's true. You can't. There's no benefit of him winning the slam dunk contest, but people would be more critical and well,
because who's gonna go against him? Like, you know what I mean? What's his competition?
Or else, like maybe
he loses out there to like the 14th dude on the Pistons bench or whatever, some random. He loses a dunk contest to Mac McClung.
Right. But last NBA question before we end up switching over to the NFL, and it kind of just segues right over. But Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam ended up buying the Milwaukee Bucks for $3.5 billion. And as soon as that happens, too, there's talks about the Browns possibly relocating their stadium in Cleveland or rebuilding the stadium. And they have the money now because he's an owner of two teams. But what kind of issues end up running into this for Jimmy Haslam and Dan Gilbert, because they're both Cleveland owners now at this point. So I don't know what's going on. Obviously, there's no insider information, but does it make sense though for him owning the Bucks? I mean, not like outside of business, but Cleveland-wise, owning a team from a different area. You have a Cavaliers owner, and then you have the same guy that owns another Cleveland team with the Bucks in the same division.
I'm not a billionaire, so I don't know.
Right, like I don't want to count some other man's pockets, but as a divorced Browns fan, there's already enough like problems in that franchise and organization, and I wish Mr. Haslam nothing but the best, and I hope he didn't bite off more than he can chew, and he's not, stretching himself too thin, worrying about this in basketball terms, and then worry about this in the National Football League, and then he doesn't know what the hell to do with himself, and he's getting stuff all mixed up. So that's good for him. Congratulations. If this ends up, rubbing Dan Gilbert the wrong way and they end up having some sort of in-town beef over it, I guess the city of Cleveland, Ohio, we can use a good laugh and some entertainment over it, which is fine. Shit. There's another thing I had to say about this. That I go to someone else, but I'll come back to it in a second.
Whoever wants to go next, go for it.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, he's a billionaire. I mean, he can do, whatever he wants with his own money. If I'm not mistaken, isn't Dan Gilbert from Detroit and he has a lot of money in Detroit? Yeah, that's what I thought too. I guess it really doesn't matter. I mean, I have my own personal beef with Dan Gilbert myself, but I guess it just goes to show with Haslam that pilot money is coming in, man. People must be pumping that gas.
Even we can sue too,
yeah.
Yeah, it just. Oh, and then now, and since now Haslam has this money and he's always had it. Me and Payne were talking earlier, like, oh my God, what if they put a dome over the stadium, or they can just rebuild it? I don't know anywhere else in this city, in the city, where you can possibly put a new Cleveland Browns stadium. Honestly, see them remodeling the whole stadium outside and in, and them temporarily like putting the Cleveland Browns into another stadium for the time being. Because I'm pretty sure they did something like that for the Cowboys when they tore down old Jerry World and moved it to another location. If someone can correct me on that, I don't know.
They did it to Minnesota as well. They played at Minnesota built that dome. They played at the University of Minnesota for I think a year or two.
I know, like the big thing with Haslam and wanting a new stadium. I remember reading it like a year or two ago. Was he wants parking revenue? There's no parking revenue around the Browns Stadium now.
No, that goes
exactly. Like where the hell would you put it? Like I'm picturing downtown, right? Yeah.
Part of their draw is that they're right on the lake. I mean, that's like part of the but the problem with Haslam is like I don't know how much you guys follow any of this, but like he's big on that like whole lakefront revitalization thing. Like he's turning that into like, hey, you guys should dump a bunch of tax money into the Browns, renovate the stadium, and make it like the focal point of this whole beachfront thing we want to do.
He better burn a lot of sage to get the bad juju away when he does that.
Yeah, right? I mean, maybe he bought the Bucks because he's just tired of watching his team lose. He was like, this team's better. I'll buy them. I mean, like, I don't know why it's not like he bought, like, another NFL team, right? I mean, they don't compete, so who cares what he buys? And if he competes with Dan Gilbert, who cares? Not like people here love Dan Gilbert either.
Yeah, that is true. Casey,
Like the
CJ,
two
what do you
least
want to add
liked
to it?
people in Cleveland are probably Dan Gilbert and the Haslams. Like
People like just like the Dolans.
well, the Dolans too. Just add in the Dolans. Like the owners.
Oh yeah, he's the owner of a team. Like nobody ever. I don't think people usually like their owners.
Right. I mean, the
So
only
I don't
sport
really
that
care.
matters is baseball. Is what
No, come on.
owners
I
have.
saw the thing come across. I was working. I saw it come across like an internet tab. Jimmy had. I was like, oh, good for him. Cool. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
It didn't. I didn't care.
It wasn't like, God damn it, he bought the box.
Quick question before we move to Casey. Did Haslam, is it a complete purchase or is it just like a percentage?
Bought the whole thing.
Wow.
That was a
I did see on my Bleacher Report that he spent 3.5, but I didn't know if it was for the whole.
I can't
pizza.
imagine the Bucks are worth more than like 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I
billion,
figured too.
Milwaukee's not a major market either, so I mean, 3.5 billion.
No, they just won the finals like 2 years ago.
Right. It's just like the market. It's not like he bought a team in a major market because then you'd be talking a lot more money. But
Like
$3.5 billion,
New York, yeah.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Dan? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I think that's like in line with other like mid-market teams.
I just had a thought. What if instead of Haslam buying the Bucks, what if Dan Gilbert sold it to Jimmy Haslam, the Cavaliers?
Jeez. And then
Pretty interesting.
It'd just all be money though. Like anything that we're talking about, it just makes sense because like they're not thinking about like any attachment to a team. They're just thinking about whatever makes more money for them. Like they don't care about Cleveland, they don't care about Milwaukee, they don't care about Detroit. Like they don't care about whatever city they have ownership in. Yeah, he has the casinos, but if the casinos making him money,
Well,
that's
he's
all
like
that
a
matters.
super big booster at Tennessee too. Haslam.
Yeah.
I'm saying, if I had that much money, I don't know what the hell I'd be doing with it. I can tell you that. Like, I have no idea.
I'd buy a hockey team.
I have no idea what I do.
That's it. That's exactly what I would do.
Otherwise, I mean, I think, does anybody want to split a baseball team at all? Because then I kind of know what I'm doing. CJ plays out of the park baseball enough times that he has an idea.
But if I had that kind of money, I'd be down.
You could buy the Esterbrook Indians, I think.
Or the Hawks. The Hawks team name.
Wow, that's
Named
funny.
after me.
It's family owned at this point, Riggs. So it just makes sense.
If I had that kind of,
go ahead.
If I had that kind of money, I would like rent out Cleveland Browns Stadium or Progressive Field or Rocket Mortgage and like throw my birthday party there and invite everyone that I know.
Yeah, just like that pay-per-view me and Peyton went to. Remember that? The Fastlane one at the Suites or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where the beer got spilled?
No, that was
AIW. I know exactly where we were sitting that day, too. I can tell you.
I can close my eyes. I think about it. Yeah. That chick I was with, she was so mean. Oh, my God. I'm like, they say it's cool. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, that's another story.
My concluding comment on the NBA is, can, for the love of God, get an NBA team in Seattle.
Yeah.
They deserve that.
Bring back the Supersonics.
Yeah, I don't want anything else. I need the Supersonics.
We need more depth left.
Who are you not restricting then in an expansion draft from the Cavs?
Didn't we say that, Peyton? What if he takes the Milwaukee Bucks? He can move them.
Yeah, because it's competition.
How much ownership he has in them.
I think they just got a new arena though, didn't they? The Bucks.
They just
the Bucks
updated like everything. I think.
Well, sorry, Charlie.
How many players do you have to protect in an expansion draft? Is it like 4?
8.
That was 8.
8. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So like the that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. There's so many bad contracts in the NBA. I feel like
you could film with Kevin Love's and
Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook,
Dwight Howard's,
John
all
Wall,
these unrestricted free agents,
Harrison Barnes.
What Michael Carter Williams is still a free agent. If you guys remember who that guy is.
He just got signed. He just got signed by the Magic.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I love
the Magic got him back. I got his jersey on the Sixers. Yeah,
dude stole a bathrobe.
I swear I do.
The mall in Syracuse. He stole a bathrobe.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That seems fitting.
I think that's what the news story was about him.
But changing gears,
When
though,
I was there.
before we end up heading over to the NFL, just want to give a quick shout out to Uncle Joe, the Black Bookie. Make sure to check out the Snooze You Lose podcast. He'll end up getting you any game of the week type picks. He ends up doing an article for us on Sundays, the Snooze You Lose picks of the weeks on Sundays. Usually it's been college basketball so far, but if you're looking to improve your pockets a little bit, he's going to help guide you on the We Like Sportz Podcast website, WeLikeSportsPC.com, and that's the Snooze You Lose podcast with Uncle Joe, the Black Bookie. But getting back to the show, going to the NFL, but it's also an XFL rule that's already been, I guess, proposed today by the Eagles, is that the Eagles are talking about the 4th and 15 onside kick being brought over to the NFL just 2 weeks after the XFL's tried it. Could you imagine the NFL if that becomes a thing? Obviously, I don't think 4th and 15 would make sense. You have to extend that because that's an easy cupcake play almost. But if you end up changing the onside
is a cupcake
for an NFL player compared to an XFL offense,
4th and 15.
It's definitely more doable in the NFL than it is the XFL. The XFL,
it is, but
it's hard to watch some of the XFL. I love watching the XFL. I know it's not great, but I'm enjoying it. But 4th and 15, I mean, I'm watching
that Vegas game was sick.
Martavis Bryant drops an easy pass. Like, that's an NFL player. He drops like a ball that hits him in the chest. Like
that's why he's not in the NFL anymore.
Right. Exactly. I mean, but I am not surprised that the Eagles are the ones proposing it because the Eagles always cry about something every offseason. Can't stand the Eagles.
Well, it sounds like this guy's the Eagles now.
Like, they lose the Super Bowl, we need a new rule. That's an Eagles thing to do.
Well, they're also being punished, though, for the offensive push, though, that they ended up having. Which, I mean, if you could end up stopping it, you could stop it. But otherwise, I mean, it's been a rule for however long. I'm not an Eagles fan by any means. I'm the other side of Pittsburgh. Or the other side of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like that. I mean, if you look at the conversion rate of that play on 4th and 1, it was absurdly high. I mean,
I think they were like only 1 for 3 to a Gardner doing it. Like, Hurts is like a machine. Hurts squats like a Mack truck.
Well, they also have one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. I mean, let's put it this way. Every team knew it was coming. I think it was like an 80% conversion rate for the Eagles. Any play in the NFL that had an 80% success rate, they got to look at.
It was like 90 with Hurts.
It's like Jacoby Brissett.
It might have been like 90%. I was trying to be like,
yeah, I want to say Hurts like did all but like 2. He was like 39, like 41 or something absurd. And like I saw
right. I mean,
Minshew was like 1 for 3 doing it.
I mean, the idea that's a play that, I mean, they're not getting punished for it. I mean, every other team in the league was being punished by not like having a play that's unstoppable.
Right, that is true.
I mean, what's the difference between?
I think if the NFL does take this rule to consideration.
I'm over it.
I think if the NFL do take this rule. Oh wait, huh?
Go ahead.
Go, Riggs.
Wait, no, no. I think you guys are just cutting out on my end. No, I think if the NFL takes this, I think if they take that rule into consideration, it can. Oh my goodness, don't.
Yeah, because I just like it. You know, the onside kicks are broken. You need something.
I wasn't done. No.
Go, Riggs.
No, I was. I mean, I wasn't trying to be like me, but no, that's funny. If they take this rule into consideration, I was overheard an NFL coach say on an NFL football show, it's a copycat league, and rather he was talking about from one coach to another coach. This now could be told from one league to another league. You know, so there they go, trying to speed up the game and try to change shit.
I mean, it's an untimed play, basically. So, I mean, I don't know that speeds anything up.
I didn't know, though, for the longest time, though, that until Pat McAfee ended up saying something about, like, the Super Bowl when they faced the Bears, that there's still a play clock on kickoffs. Like, to start the game, they almost had to delay a game penalty, which like I remember playing Madden growing up, and like that was never a play clock like that was going on when you kicked off.
It's from the whistle though, so
it gave you time to take a piss real quick.
Yeah.
There's been many times playing Madden and that part was available, and my friend Brian would be like, "Hold on, let me take a piss. Don't kick off yet," and I would just sit there. You know, there was no clock. So you're absolutely right. Huh.
KJ, CJ, Casey, what are your thoughts on that possible rule?
You know me. I said it. We're talking XFL last week. I like it. You know.
Well, it's like we also said last week. I mean, you got to change rules. You're going to change stats, and that's going to throw things off on that aspect of it too. So
I don't give a fuck about stats. I think it's cool, man.
I mean, kickoff stats are almost irrelevant now, though.
I think it's cool.
There's
Nobody gets
so
an
few
onside
kick
kick when you're playing the
returns.
Browns. Right. I think it's cool.
I would rather have them do something like the XFL's like kickoff. Like,
yeah, like their
in
kickoff.
general.
The XFL is
Like, I want to
cool.
see more returns. Like, I don't. Care
I don't
about
as a Browns fan.
Right,
Oh,
well, that's
Chris.
fair. But
I think
I don't.
it's cool.
I don't want to see. I don't mind like the onside kick thing because the NFL ruined onside kicks when they said you had to stand still until the ball's kicked.
Don't get some.
Like when players used to be able to run, and like it was a timing thing. Like if you hit the line before the ball was kicked, you were fine. But if you crossed it, it was an offsides. Like that was a good rule. But then they said, "Oh, well, we don't want to have injuries, so we'll have you start sprinting head on at each other when the ball's kicked." It didn't change anything. It just ruined the onside kick.
Yeah.
And then they moved the kickoff up, so now there's no returns. Like, just go back to the old rule, and you'll have onside kicks and more returns. It's not that difficult. Just say we
KJ, what are
messed
your
up.
thoughts?
I mean, why I don't mess up the game of football. I mean, I just if don't put yourself into a position where you need to kick an onside kick. Just win the game, score more points. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid point. I mean, it would be interesting if that did become a thing because you see it in the XFL and you've seen how well it's gone. And it's just been the timing in the NFL, too, that you've had the time to end up proposing these rules. But I think, like, in order for this to be approved, 24 of the 32 NFL teams have to vote on it and agree to it. And when it comes to voting, that never is the case. You never get that majority that you need.
I'm also a huge
Major League
fan
Baseball.
of crediting kickers on the kickoff
fuck that.
if they kick it through the uprights on a kickoff. I'm a huge fan of that.
Counting it
I
as
don't even like kickers. Get rid of kicking in general, man. Fuck kickers. It's so lame. All they do is they practice missing and making their kicks, and then they go out there and they miss them. You know.
spoken
That's
like
true.
true Cade York fan.
Yeah, that
Who
is
needs
true.
a kicker? Get rid of kicking in general. I'm over it.
But last
Kickers are
question,
lame.
probably, and it'll end up ending the show more than likely. But the question of the day is, if you could pick a running back from any generation, who would be your starter in the NFL?
Barry Sanders.
That'd be a solid one, especially Coach Sanders, too. Even if he's still the same age, if I have him as a running back or a head coach, I'd still like that.
That's tough.
Give me
College
that's
Reggie
very
Bush. I can't even. I wanted to say Barry Sanders, but no, I can't.
But Reggie Bush sucked in the NFL.
I know. Give me like the college version of him.
Oh,
He
back
was
when
a college
he was
version.
at USC.
I love college football. Give me the college version.
Arkansas, Peyton Hillis.
There you go. There's the
Peyton
shout
Hillis
out.
against the Patriots that one random week.
I mean, are we taking into a fact that like that they're injury prone or not?
Well, I mean, I didn't say injuries aside. I just said a running back from any generation. We don't
'Cause
know,
if they-
though, depending on what the time frame goes. What if it changes scenery, changes it up on them, and they're healthy?
Right? Because
Was the Damian Tomlinson, was he a running back?
Yep.
yes,
Okay, yeah, he was
He's one of the best
solid.
ever.
Yeah. I think I'm like he wasn't a tight end. I had to get my mind.
I mean, Barry Sanders was not a bad pick. I don't know if he doesn't get hurt. Bo Jackson is probably the greatest running back in history, but
Bo Diddley.
but he hurt himself by being too strong. Other than him, Walter Payton.
Yep, that was going to be the one I picked. namesake. That's why.
Yeah, but legit. How about the fridge?
Yeah,
William
Refrigerator
Perry.
Perry. Yep.
Yeah, just 1 yard runs. That's all you need.
Or honestly, what about Jerome Bettis though? I mean, you guys are mainly from Cleveland.
Bias. No, I'm joking.
Either way, though, look at
Greatest
the way
stat line
he ran. 240-pound running back. That
well, how many covers of Madden was he on though? I mean, shit.
Yeah, that is
Right.
true.
Peyton Hillis, he was on one. So
Yeah,
Right.
Peyton Hillis was on the cover of Madden.
But Jerome Bettis had the greatest stat line probably of a running back ever. He had like 4 rushes for 1 yard and 3 touchdowns in an entire game.
Do that one more time.
He had 4 rushes for like, I think it was 4 or 5 rushes for 1 yard and 3 touchdowns.
I still
I hate
like Randy
football.
Moss.
Because the
Thanksgiving
3
Day
touchdowns
stat
were
line
all
better.
1 yard. And then one of his other carries were for a loss.
That's like any quarterback stat line though. If you get sacked, you're losing rushing yards if you're going backwards.
Not in the pros.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it's a thing in college still, not in the pros though.
Yeah.
yeah, in college, that's why if you go over-unders for rushing yards and quarterbacks, it's a lot lower because you take those sacks into consideration.
Or if they take knees at the end of the game, they lose a yard every time.
Yep, that's the most garbage thing too, especially if you are into sports betting. But KJ, who would be your running back from any generation?
I mean, I was gonna say Barry Sanders, but that would be a cop out. I mean, I would say LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah, I mean,
If I was playing Madden, I'd agree.
Or I mean, you could even go back to the Chiefs with like Priest Holmes and like Larry Johnson. Even those were pretty solid ones back in the day too.
Larry Johnson had like 1,800 yards in 9 games, didn't he? That one season he took over when Priest Holmes got hurt.
Yep.
He played like 9 games and had like 1,700 and something rushing yards.
Jamal Charles was tough for the Chiefs then too. After those two,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They've been really lucky with the running back, and then like
Then they had Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
yeah.
The only time the Chiefs have really struggled at running back is right now.
Yep.
That's the only
not bad.
thing, and they still won a Super Bowl.
Well, they still got Pacheco that they gave like potential.
Yeah, he's not bad. McKinnock's a good pass blocker and catcher.
CEH is an athlete. He just can't stay on the field.
Sucks.
What about the biggest bust though in like NFL history though from
Ryan
running
Leaf.
back? From running back, Ryan
Oh.
Leaf is true, but like right away, I thought Todd Gurley though he was great early on, and then he
Todd
just
Gurley's injuries.
Todd Gurley had a
He won an
decent
MVP.
NFL career. He wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
He had a
But I
bad
mean, he
knee.
fell off the face of the earth.
He had a bad knee.
But after a good career, I mean, he had a good NFL career before he fell off.
I mean, when he ended up
DeMarco
retiring-
Murray.
Yeah,
Reggie
DeMarco
Bush.
Murray's another one.
Trent
Sean
Richardson
McCoy.
Which is the biggest bust at running back ever.
Trent Richardson, yeah. Trent Richardson's the biggest. Top 5. Jesus.
Well, yeah. Trent Richardson, without a doubt, was probably the worst selection the Browns could have ever made. And the fact they were able to trade him to the Colts, I don't know how they managed that. That makes no sense.
He had a good year his rookie year, but he was ass after that. Straight cheeks.
I think it's hard to pick like bust running backs.
Because
Like,
you end up
Trent.
in,
You
a
went
lot
so
of running
early.
backs end up okay. Like it's
Richardson was
it's
still
the
bad.
safest
LeBron.
position.
That's why their
several
contracts
weeks with a
aren't that
right
great.
foot injury.
right.
LeBron's gonna be out several weeks.
Yeah, I think Trent Richardson probably, in recent memory, has to be the worst.
I'm still going Reggie
Yeah, I
Bush.
can't think of anyone else.
Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
When you had
Reggie
to
had a good career.
when you had to specify college Reggie Bush,
Dude,
that tells you that his NFL career sucked.
yes. And CJ, what was that news though about LeBron James?
LeBron's gonna be out for a few weeks. Hurt his foot.
That has to be the
ankle, right?
longest he's been out though for a game though, and it's taken him until 39 years old to miss a couple of weeks of basketball. He's always
I'm a
like
Cavs that one year he was
last
out.
year. Last year was it last year? It was a couple years ago maybe.
Didn't he have his back?
One of the years
like
with the
a year or
Lakers, he
two
was
ago?
hurt for a while. Yeah, I think he sprained an ankle, maybe something like that. I don't remember.
I thought he had a
remember
back issue at one point.
I mean, he hasn't been out for a long time.
Year one with the Lakers.
No.
For how much he's been in the NBA, he hasn't set up that long.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that mean though for the Lakers for next? They're a decent team, but without LeBron now, it's going to be really interesting. 'Cause a couple weeks right now in March.
Imagine any team losing their leading scorer.
They're going to miss this playoffs. ESPN had a graphic up the other day. They were like, which team's going to do better in playoffs. Lakers or Mavericks. It's like, well, you know, the Mavericks are the 6th seed. Lakers are the 13th seed, so
But
more money
LeBron.
on the Mavericks.
That's the kind of stupidity that they have all the time on that website, though. It's we can't say LeBron is not gonna like. Who's gonna have a better playoff run? Well, one team might not be in it. You're just saying that because they have LeBron on the team. That's it. That's the only reason that article was ever written.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a 13 seed, if the Cavs were the 13th seed right now in the East, they're not being talked about. If the Magic were the 13th seed,
like Washington, yeah, I was gonna say like Washington, you're not.
Yeah, we're gonna write an article about who's gonna have a deeper playoff run. Talking about a team that seeds. Your seed starts with a 1. How about we don't talk about you until the playoffs hit?
Yeah, it's either.
And then we'll talk about how bad you were throughout the year.
But I mean, it'd be interesting to see the NBA the next couple of weeks, especially because LeBron's gone now for the next couple of weeks. They
Let's
only
get ready
have
for some
Anthony
March
Davis.
Madness.
Is he going? Call it fixed, but his son maybe getting a college ride, full ride, just into March Madness somehow, and he's going to watch him? No, not the case. But if it was storyline wise, a couple of years down the line, that would be really interesting. If he got hurt and was just able to watch his son play basketball for March Madness at Ohio State, Michigan. I don't even think he'll make it to college either. I wouldn't be surprised if he skips out on that because it's LeBron's son.
I mean, he doesn't need the NIL money. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's
right.
Without a doubt. But I mean, last question overall. You end up having Jake Paul finally lose in his boxing career. Ohio's own, I guess we kind of have to claim him, but if you want to, that's up to you. But Jake Paul finally lost. Did you guys pay attention at all? Is that anything worth your while to pay attention?
Yeah, I heard about it, and you know, I'm going to be honest. Coming from someone who's had their ass whooped before in a physical fight, like I don't root for anyone really to get their ass
By
beat.
Dave Dawson.
But there's some people who seriously do deserve it
Dave
from running their mouth. And... Wait, what happened?
No. That was an insane way to start that.
Yeah, I don't like to vote on people to get their ass beat, but if you're running your mouth too hard, then yeah, I'm gonna want you to lose eventually. And you know, hopefully this humbles him and he doesn't get discouraged or lose his confidence over this. He is a great fighter. He's in great shape. Can't take that away from the man. But hey, so he had to take one once in a while. He had to take one soon, you know.
I watched it. They both fucking suck.
I mean, great fighter is a stretch.
Yeah,
he's a him and his brother are basically WWE stars, and that's like where personalities match. And I don't care. Boxing is fine. It doesn't need the Pauls. It doesn't. It doesn't need them. And I am so tired and absolutely sick of these old, washed-up boxers trying to resurrect their career. The only thing that might make me more mad is fucking TikTok stars wanting to become professional boxers. Why is that a pay-per-view? Why is anyone watching this? Just
because they talk shit. That's why.
You know what? I talk shit.
It's like watching two dudes in the bar that you know are gonna fight. Like you're gonna stop and be like, "Oh, these two dudes are gonna fight."
But I'm not gonna pay $50.
No, I streamed it illegally online.
Well, that's
Don't tell Dana White you do that.
Yeah.
And this is when we get taken down officially because CJ admits to this.
I'm just saying, Sports Surge. They're a sponsor.
Stream East.
Yeah. Sports Surge, you click it. It's got all of them up there, man. It's great. It's a good time.
Casey, CJ, KJ, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, no, they fucking suck. They're two shitty boxers. Like, they suck. Like, it is what it is. I want to watch somebody get their ass beat, though, you know. Two unlikable guys. You're rooting for, like, them both to lose. Like, you know, you watch Rocky, too, and, you know, when Rocky knocks down Apollo, you're just hoping neither one of them get up.
Yeah. Oh, my God. You're giving me – I love that movie. Right? Yeah, right now. It's that whole, like, one, two,
climbing up
Rocky, three. Oh, man.
It's great.
I love that movie.
Casey,
Yeah, I mean, I'll add.
Casey and KJ.
Oh, go ahead, Casey. Go ahead.
I want to add one thing that's not on this topic, but before we go, I want to forget this. Roman Quinn, is he going to be the Guardians MVP this year?
Oh man,
Spring training MVP. I had to be like, who the fuck is this guy?
I knew who he was because I had him on my
doing
team,
something.
and I had him on my team in this show because he was so fast. That's how I knew who he was. But other than that, I had no idea.
I got a notification. I had to stop. I was like, who the fuck is R. Quinn?
Three home runs in the 3 games, and in his whole career he's hit 8. Yeah,
he's on pace.
I'm telling you.
Does he take a spot away from George Valera?
George Valera's not.
Well, I'm just saying, what spot does he take? Because I mean, if he keeps playing like this, no.
What's
that dude that
they have too much money tied up in Straw.
Well, yeah, he's won Gold Glove. Why would you take the Gold Glove out of that?
He might be a fourth outfielder. Who knows?
Next week, we're going to have to hit baseball heavy because we've missed out. And spring training would be 2 weeks in by then, but that's going to be when things are going to get really interesting. You've already seen the pitch clock, the strikes, the balls. You've seen that game end on Friday. 2 games in already.
Bullshit.
I love it. It's going to be the show all season, man. Those guys are going to call it. They're going to be like pointing at clocks and pointing at their watches.
It's going to turn into the NFL and the NBA when it comes to that.
Yeah. But KJ, what do you want to close with?
KJ Hernandez is going to be back there.
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately had nothing to do yesterday, so I did watch the Paul Fury fight. I will say it was, kind of. I did, I went to go see Paul fight. I want to say, who's the UFC guy?
When he fought Woodley here. Yeah, he fought Woodley.
Yeah,
and
I
Fury
did
was
see
on
that in
card
Cleveland.
Too.
And that was, it was cool. It was my first time, seeing a live, boxing match. But I don't think Paul has what it takes to be a professional boxer. I mean, Fury isn't a professional boxer. He's just a heavyweight champion's younger brother that, poses for underwear photos and stuff like that. I mean, Fury's not a real fighter. Fury worked Paul. I mean, it wasn't even close. But yeah, I mean,
hopefully Paul is a sideshow beating up old men.
Yeah, hopefully Paul, figures it out. I mean, I grew, growing up 15 minutes away from the guy. I mean, hopefully he gets his shit together. But I mean, yeah, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah. That's how he's famous, is because of how he is. So
both of
those two.
Well, I mean, Logan Paul ended up putting up all his prime, his equity and prime on Jake Paul winning, and
that shit ain't that good. I've had it before.
I like it.
But before we end up heading out, guys, and talking more about the Paul brothers, where can everybody find you on social media before we end up heading out and continuing on to next week on Monday, 7 to 8 o'clock? And make sure to find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, all those platforms to listen to the podcast Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.
I'll go first. My random Indian player is Micah Vilas, but
I forgot about that.
It's gonna be my name, so Casey Katowski and everything. Nothing crazy.
My is at Peyton Vince. Niger Morgan, man.
Ooh,
yeah, I thought about him last week.
Drew,
my turn. It's like a random Indians player.
Okay. I know he's looking up my at right now on Instagram.
Me?
I thought we were ending it with. I thought we were ending it with come up with an at as like a random Indians player.
No, my at is at Peyton Vince on Twitter.
What's your social media, Riggs? And a random.
I have a personal social media. I don't have a We Like Sportz social media just yet. That is coming. But I will share the link on my social media, which is LeConte D. Sean at Facebook.com. And I'll also give you guys Stephen R. Smith's personal social media so you can follow him. And my at will be LeConte Chisenhall.
So Chisenhall.
I don't think Rick's got what we were going for, but he was close enough.
LeConte Chisenhall. That's good.
Hey, double or nothing, Peyton.
Once we get back to you, Drew.
So socials at Forest City Sport on Twitter. Everything else, that's my name, Drew Pappert. And
Oh, she's
God, I
sexy.
hate these random Indians player things because I didn't watch the Indians growing up at all.
Give us a random Met or Yankee or whatever you watch.
All right, a random Met is perfect. Guy I went to high school with, Tim LeCastro, the fastest man in baseball.
I think I heard of him.
Thank you, everybody.
My socials, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, KAllGood17. And I actually grew up a Mets fan myself, so I will say a random Met and a random Indian. A random Met, my favorite player growing up was Jose Reyes. Unfortunately, he beats women. And then a random Indian, my favorite Indian would be Kenny Lofton.
All right, me at Peyton Vince, or find my secondary social media at Not Wilson. That says CJ Hawkins on it, but it's all good. It's at Not Wilson though. It's actually me. I've switched accounts. Random Indians player. I'd have to say Ryan Garco and Riggs. Double or nothing.
My brother got a bat from Ryan.
No, get it double or nothing. When we were at the old place, the video when I messed up.
Damn it!
Poker card.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danny Tanner all in.
Yep. There you go. Yep.
On that note, guys, we'll see you guys next week on the We Like Sportz podcast at We Like Sportz PC on Twitter. Give us a follow. Check out our website, WeLikeSportsPC.com, and stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Halifax, baby.
Revolution this Sunday?
Yes.